Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Today we are going to study irrigation engineering. The main purpose or motto behind our water resources engineering development, water management. Last class we have seen about dams and reservoirs. The main important issue of constructing these dams and reservoirs is to supply water for irrigation, drinking water, industrial requirement and all other demand. Out of all other demands, irrigation water requirement is the major sector which we need to supply this water. So we will see in irrigation engineering what is water requirement of crops, what are all the irrigation methods and what are all the irrigation efficiencies. Since irrigation engineering is very important because every crop requires certain quantity of water after a certain fixed interval. So it is quantity at fixed interval depending upon the type of crop and age of the crop. What you have estimated called evapotranspiration in the abstracts, that is the water required by a particular crop at root zone. But when I want to supply that much at the root zone, how much I have to release it from the reservoir. That is what irrigation engineering is. But why I have to supply water for the crops? Irrigation engineering is not needed if the natural rain is sufficient and timely, right? So as to satisfy this both criteria of quantity of water and at fixed interval. Okay, then no irrigation is required. So irrigation is required only when the natural rain is insufficient and it is not happening timely for the metabolic growth of the crop. Then we have to artificially supply the water, and that process is called as irrigation. And since we are introducing the concept of hydrology, water resources, dam, reservoirs, it is called as irrigation engineering. Because plants require varying quantity of water at different stages. Adequate and timely requirement is the most important criteria for a successful growth of a crop. Right? And there are certain high yielding crops which needs only exact quantity. More is also a problem, less is also a problem. And we work towards this irrigation engineering because 81% of the total available water is used for irrigation. Right? Especially in India also, it is around 80 to 82% we are supplying for irrigation. Right? Why we need to supply in spite we have an average rainfall of 1150 mm per year average. The natural rainfall is either insufficient temporarily or it's not happening at fixed intervals. Then depending upon the average annual rainfall, the area are climatologically classified as arid, semi-arid and humid. Right? We come across, our country has different classifications starting from arid to very wet because we have annual rainfall varying from 200 mm to 11,000 mm. So when the area receives a rainfall, annual rainfall less than 500 mm, we call that as an arid region. When it is between 500 to 1110 mm, it is semi-arid. So at an average, our India comes under this semi-arid condition. There are certain area in our country which receives around 1400 mm. We call that a subhumid. There are certain regions which receives up to 1700 mm. They are called as humid regions. There are certain regions in Western Ghats which receives around 2000 mm. That is wet region, and there are very high, more than 2000 mm. We call that as very wet region. So we used to supply irrigation water from arid to humid region. But in our country, we used to supply irrigation water in all the classifications, because we say that western region we receive water of rainfall up to 2000 mm, but it happens only in southwest monsoon. The remaining period of the year we need to irrigate. How much to be irrigated? The frequency, right? If there is no irrigation, this is the relationship between the yield of wheat crop and the nitrogen doses depending upon the number of irrigations. Even though nitrogen doses are available, if there is no irrigation, the yield is very less, right? When there is one irrigation, there is a good yield. When there is two, it's optimal. When you irrigate more also with more nutrients, the yield may increase. If the nutrients are very less, then the yield will be very less, right? So more water or less water, your yield will be less. So you need to supply appropriate quantity of water. This is a picture from FAO, right? And that quantity of water is called as crop water requirement or water requirement of a crop. It is the total quantity and the way in which a crop requires water from the time it is sown to the time it is harvested. Okay, that is called as irrigation period. This irrigation period vary with the crop as well as spatial from one place to another place, depending upon the climate, the type of soil, method of cultivation, and useful rainfall. So we have certain words which we need to remember in irrigation engineering. The first one is crop period. Crop period is the time period that elapsed from the instant of its sowing to the instant of its harvesting. That is crop period. But the base period is the time between the first watering of a crop at the time of its sowing to its last watering before harvesting. So always base period will be less than crop period, or at the most it can be equal to crop period. Right? That's why people used to say that crop period is slightly more than the base period. But for all practical purposes, they are taken as one and the same. It is generally expressed in days. So base period is expressed as B in irrigation engineering. Delta is the total depth of water that should stand on the irrigated area if the total quantity supplied must stand above the surface without percolation. That means you are estimating evapotranspiration, right? Class that which has the unit of centimeters per day. If that is the depth of water per day for entire crop period, how much depth is required by the crop? You go on adding it throughout its base period. Then it will become centimeter depth, and that is called as delta. In other words, the delta is the depth of water required by a crop throughout its base period for its metabolic growth without any deficiency. Right? For example, we have solved a problem. If rice requires about 10 centimeter depth of water at an average interval of 10 days and the crop period is 120 days, find out the delta. So that means we are going to irrigate at every 10 day, and every 10 day we are irrigating 10 centimeter depth of water. Out of 12 days, how many times we have to irrigate? Right? So it is 12 numbers. So each time you irrigate 10 centimeter. So 10 centimeter into 12 number of waterings, which is equal to 120 centimeter. So the crop requires 120 centimeter of water throughout its crop period. This is how we estimate the delta and base period. But in this is a sample delta for different crops grown in India. Common sugarcane is a 1 year crop. For 1 year, the total depth of water to be supplied at root zone is 120 centimeters. This is an average, right? Similarly, rice, which is only 3 to 5 months crop, it's 120 centimeters. Tobacco, it's a 6-month crop, which requires 75 centimeters. Garden fruits, cotton is also a 6-month crop. 50 centimeter is its delta. Vegetables, 4 to 6 months, it is also 45 centimeters. Wheat, 40 centimeter, which is 3 to 4 months. Barley, 30 centimeter. Maize, it's a dry crop, 25 centimeters. Fodder is 22.5. So it depends upon the type of crop, the delta. See, out of all these crops, rice and wheat are called as irrigated wet crops. All other crops are called as irrigated dry crop. That means for rice, we need to keep the water level above the ground level. So there is always a saturated condition. That's why it is called as irrigated wet crop. Whereas all other crops, it is saturated condition, 100% saturated the soil, then you stop the irrigation, right? Then you allow certain time period until the water in the soil is taken by the plants, then you irrigate. So the frequency is more for other crops, whereas it is very less for rice crop, right? Then if I want this much depth, how much water I have to release from the dam? That's the major requirement of a water resources engineer. Okay, this much depth is required. Then how much I need to release? Then that is called as duty. So it is the relationship between the volume of water and the area of the crop it matures, right? So the duty is nothing but a unit discharge flowing for a time equal to the base period of the crop is called as base of the duty, right? That means duty is defined as the area irrigated per meter cube per second of discharge running for a base period of P. That means if I release 1 meter cube per second from the dam gates for a crop period B, how much area I can irrigate? That is called as the duty, right? For example, if water is flowing at a rate of 1 meter cube per second, runs continuously for B days of crop period and matures or irrigates 200 hectares, then the duty of the water for that particular crop is defined as 200 hectares per cubic. That means 1 meter cube continuously I am supplying and it will mature 200 hectares. Then that is called as duty of the crop. Right? It varies from crop to crop. Suppose if I am irrigating rice, it will have a different duty. If I am irrigating sugarcane, it will have a different duty. Then how will you do this when you are operating the gates of the reservoir? Then people used to estimate the duty for different crops and take the average. And there is a relationship between this duty, delta and crop period. Right? Let the crop of base period be B days. Right? Let 1 meter cube per second, that is cubic of water, be applied to this crop on the field for B days. Now how much volume of water is applied for B days? B is in days, convert that into seconds because 1 meter cube per second. So the volume of water supplied all along this crop period B days is B into 24, that will convert into hour, then 3600. That is the unit conversion. So the volume of water that was supplied from the dam is 86,400 B, where B is the days, meter cube. If this volume is continuously supplied for B days, irrigates D hectares of land. Okay. So then the depth of water is equal to volume per area. D is in hectares, so which is equal to D into 10,000 meter square. Right? Then volume is 86,400 B. Area is 10,000 to the 10,000 into D. So this volume per area is nothing but the delta is equal to 8.64 B by D. Right? By definition, this total depth of water is called as delta. Okay. Therefore, delta is 8.64 B by D if delta is in meters, or 864 B by D if delta is in centimeter. This is the relationship between duty, delta and base period. Duty of water for a crop is number of hectares of the land which the water can irrigate. Therefore, if the water requirement of the crop is more, less number of hectares of land will be irrigated. So, duty will be less. For non-water loving plants, duty will be more. So, that means for irrigated wet crops, right, paddy, wheat, with 1 meter cube per second, you can irrigate only very less area. But for irrigated dry crop, for the same 1 meter cube per second, you can irrigate more area, right? So a simple problem, find the delta of a crop when its duty is 864 hectare per cubic. Please remember the unit for delta is hectare per cubic or hectare per meter cube per second. Okay, find the base period, find the delta if the base period of this crop is 120 days. So delta is equal to 864 by BD, where delta is in centimeters, B is in days, D is in hectares per cubic. So substituting directly, you will get delta as 120 centimeters. Then as a water resource engineer, we are more concerned about this duty, right? That means you will receive an instruction that release this much meter cube per second from the dam. Then this duty depends upon various factors. Some of the factors are type of crop, right? As I said, whether the crop is irrigated dry crop or irrigated wet crop and at what location, right? So duty will be less for a crop requiring more water and vice versa. Okay. Climate and season. The same crop in the same place, if it is during southwest monsoon, it will require certain amount of duty. If it is during northeast monsoon, then it will require different type of duty, and when you are growing that in summer crop, then the duty will be different. So the duty includes the water lost in evaporation and percolation, which vary with time, season and climate. And it is also a function of useful rainfall. This useful rainfall is different from observed rainfall as well as rainfall excess, which you have studied in precipitation, right? Rainfall excess is nothing but the rainfall over and above the losses. But in this case, useful rainfall is if there is X quantity of rainfall and you have only Y quantity of evapotranspiration. Right? Not all rainfall is considered by the crop for its direct growth. It will take only certain percentage of rainfall for its metabolic growth, and that rainfall quantity is called as useful rainfall. Okay. So if some of the rain falling directly over the irrigated land is useful for the growth of the crop, then so much less irrigation water will be required to mature the crop. And it also depends upon the type of soil. Type of the soil means permeability of the soil under the irrigated crop, right? If the permeability is very high, you need to irrigate more. If the permeability is very less, then water loss due to percolation will be less, then you have to irrigate less. So the type of soil governs the quantity of water to be supplied. Then efficiency of cultivation method. This is where the human intervention comes and helps to improve the duty. That means the efficiency, how efficiently you are taking that quantity of water supplied to the root zone. There are different methods of irrigation. Like what we see in general for wet crop is flooding method, then sprinkler method, then we have drips irrigation. There are different types of methods to improve the irrigation efficiency. The efficiency is more, your duty will be more, right? So if the irrigation water is used economically, then the duty of the water will improve. That means the same quantity of water I can irrigate for more area, right? So this is just give an idea how much is the duty required for different crops in India, right? For example, sugarcane, it requires 730 hectares per cubic. That means 1 meter cube per second you continuously release from the dam. You can irrigate 730 hectares of sugarcane, that is for 1 year. Whereas rice, the same 1 meter cube per second, you can irrigate for 775 hectares, but only for 3 months. So base period is also important, right? The other kharif crops, right? These are all continuous annual crops, right? Why duty is important? Because the design of the canal system, as we have seen, it is the distribution of water from the dam to the crop, right? The design depends upon this duty, because canal is designed for a particular carrying capacity Q, and Q is nothing but my duty of the crop. Knowing the total available water at the head of the main canal and overall duty for all crops required to be irrigated in different seasons, the area which can be irrigated can be worked out. Or if we know the crops area required to be irrigated and their duties, we can work out the discharge required for designing the channel simply, right? These are all some of the measures for improving the duty of the water, right? As I said, main important is increasing the efficiency of the cultivation or efficiency of the irrigation methods. Some of the precautions are: land to be used for cultivation should be as far as possible leveled, so that same depth of water is applied at everywhere in the field. The field should be properly plowed to the required depth. Otherwise, water will be stagnating. If the root zone is very hard, water will not percolate. Whatever water you supply will stand on the ground and go as a evaporation. At the same time, roots might have not received any water. And then improved modern cultivation methods like sprinkler, drip irrigation, right? So that you supply the water at the root zone, thereby reducing several losses. Porous soil should be treated before sowing crops to reduce seepage. If the soil is very porous, like sandy soil, whatever water you supply, it will go very deep or deeper than the root zone. Then plants cannot take water. Then you have to treat the soil. Alkaline soil should be properly leached before sowing. Otherwise, the alkaline soils either may choke or the alkaline material will be taken by the plants. Manures, fertilizers should be added to increase water holding capacity of the soil also, right? Green manures, right? Mainly we increase it to add the holding capacity of the soil. Rotation of the crops should be preferred, and this will ensure increased crop yield with minimum use of water. These are all some of the measures to improve the duty of water, right? But there are certain precautions in handling irrigation supplies. The source of irrigation water should be situated within the prescribed limits. That means the dam should not be very far off from the command area, right? So the canal carrying supply should be lined to reduce seepage, so that you will be reducing the seepage losses. Water courses may be preferably lined or RCC. Canal network, that means there is a dam. From the dam, main canal is there. Then from main canal, branch canals. From branch canals, you will take for field. If all are lined, then your conveyance losses will be less. Then free flooding of fields should be avoided. But for paddy and wheat, you need to do this free flooding. For all other irrigated dry crop, you can grow with different method of irrigation like furrow, right? Then sprinkler or drip irrigation. Or there is another method called subsurface irrigation. That is directly you take the water to the root zone. If canals are not lined, then two canals running side by side may be preferred, right? That will reduce the full supply level, thereby reducing the percolation losses. Altogether, the idea is to use the water economically. So now we'll see what are crops, crop seasons in Indian agriculture. More than 70% of our Indian population is directly or indirectly connected to agriculture. The major crops called as staple food in India is rice and wheat. They are called irrigated wet crops. Other irrigated dry crops are pulses, right? All dal, what we eat, pulses, cotton. groundnut, jute, coffee, rubber, tea, sugar, they are all comes under irrigated dry crop. I have given an assignment, if you remember during first class, to write down the different crop seasons in different basins in India. Right? Prior to construction of large dams, each reservoirs and each river basin has its own name for its irrigation period. Right? For example, Samba, Kuruvai, right? Taladi. This is in Kaveri. Then Kar, Advanced Kar, Pishanam in Tamaravari. Like that, each and every Kar, every river basin has its own name. Right? But now we have only two crops, that is called as Kharif and Rabi seasons. Right? Because all irrigation starts in southwest monsoon, we call that as Kharif period. Northeast monsoon, we call it as Rabi period. Right? So we have only two irrigation crops now in India. One is Kharif and Rabi, but still there are certain river basin which has its own crop periods. So this is some of the types of soil which requires different types of water retention, and we can say that the suitability of the soil and the type of crop that can be grown. Okay. See, Kharif starts from 1st April and ends in 30th September, southwest monsoon. Rabi starts from 1st October and ends in 31st March. These dates are not rigid, but normally nowadays we start only from June. So June, July, August, September. This 4 months is Kharif period. October, November, December, the next remaining 6 months is Rabi period. Right? So the time may vary up to 1 to 3 months on either side. Sugarcane, which is an important cash crop, extends on both the crops, that is Kharif as well as Rabi. Right? There are several reservoirs in India which starts its operating only from the month of June. So then there are certain crops which require 6 months in the field. If the crop period is 6 months, they will extend both in Kharif as well as Rabi. 50% of their crop period will be in Kharif and 50% of their crop period will be in Rabi season. Means they will be sown in July, June, and they will end it in the month of December. So that means the area is occupied on both the seasons. Right? The above distinction of season is well applicable to North India, but in South India there are no such marked distinction between different seasons. But each river basin has its own name. So you can ask some of the farmers what is the season. If you go to irrigation engineering department of each state, you can find out what is the name of the irrigation crop period in that river basin. Right? These are all some of the crops which are commonly grown. Rice and wheat is grown in both the seasons, the Kharif as well as Rabi, but quantity of water required will be different. Kharif season is normally for irrigated wet crops and Rabi season is generally for irrigated dry crops. Most of the pulses are grown during Rabi. Right? There are certain crops which are common in both the seasons. Okay, so Kharif crops require about 2 to 3 times the quantity of water as required by Rabi crops. Now let us see what are all the methods to improve the irrigation efficiency. How efficiently we can send this water from the dam to the field. I said from the dam, if the water is supplied through the canal network, it will come to the field. So when I apply, how I am applying the water in the field, that is called as application method. Depending upon the application method of water in the field, there are different types of irrigation. The first one is called as flooding method, like this. It's mainly for paddy and rice. We used to do irrigate through this flooding method, right? And this is called furrow method. Most of the pulses, chilies, sugarcane, right, maize, they are grown in the furrow method. That means it is a long, smaller canal, and water is allowed to go in the small canals, and there is a bunch in which used to graze the crops. So this method is slightly having efficiency more than this flooding method. Then the next method is sprinkler irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation is like a substitute for rain. It will be spraying, right, like a rain, from single sprinkler to group of sprinklers, right? And the sprinkler rain intensity has to be designed. This intensity is function of the type of the crop and the soil characteristics, right? I think you know what is infiltration rate. So at any cost, this sprinkler rate should not be more than the basic infiltration rate, because if it is more, then what happens? Your soil, once it is saturated, it will start overflowing. So in sprinkler irrigation, there is no flooding or there is no surface runoff created from the field. So it will be sprinkling like a rain until the soil gets saturated, right? So that is soil capacity. Second one is my crop requirement. If the crop requires a rainfall intensity less than my infiltration rate of the soil, then I design it for that. So the sprinkler rate is function of type of crop as well as soil characteristics. So this is just an example for a sprinkler irrigation, right, mounted on this is single jet at the pipe, right, where you can transfer the pipe from one place to another place, right. This is for lawns, single heavy jet guns, right. This is for irrigated dry crops. The previous one is for fodder crops. This is what nowadays automated sprinkler irrigation methods for cotton, right, and for orchards and gardens. This is the closer view of a sprinkler gun. So there will be a jet which is coming out of a small jet which is flipped by this, which splashes the water, right. Irrigation efficiency. See, this sprinkler has an irrigation efficiency of 90%. That means if I supply 10 centimeter of water, 9 centimeter has gone to the crop root zone, right. 90% is the irrigation efficiency. There is another method which is called as drip irrigation, which takes the required quantity of water drop by drop at the root zone, which has very high irrigation efficiency, like 95% to 98%, but it is slightly initial cost is more. So as the method of irrigation increases, the cost is also increased from basin, then furrow. Furrow has to be constructed every year. Its efficiency is better than the basin method. Then sprinkler, you have to use equipments that will be costlier, but it is efficient than the furrow method. Drip irrigation is much efficient than the sprinkler irrigation, but you need to invest a lot. But all methods, this sprinkler can be used for all crops, but drip irrigation, nowadays they are using it for orchards, furrow crops, and sugar cane, right. Now, because of its expensiveness, it's very difficult to use it for all other crops. So this is mulching to reduce the evaporation from the crop root zone, a conventional drip irrigation. So this is the drip pipeline. We will see. This is the called emitter. Emitter, every pipe will have a emitter. It is not just a hole. The water will move around a circular path, so that the head of water and the quantity of water supplied at each plant is uniform, right? Like this. If I have a source, from the source water is pumped to a sand separator, right, where all my sediments, solid particles are removed, only pure water goes there, and there is a pressure gauge. If I want to include any fertilizer or pesticide, we can include it through this tank and then send it to the pipe. So this water is distributed to the entire crops through a network of pipe system. It will be a main pipe and then sublines and then emitters. Emitters are the small holes with a circular movement of water. So this portion is fixed into the pipe. Water will come out of this small nozzle drop by drop. Thereby the head of water available for each crop is uniform throughout the period throughout the crops, right? That is called dripper or emitters. So thereby you reduce, there are several advantages in using this drip irrigation. First one is there is no weed growth because water is supplied only to the crop. First and foremost is highest irrigation efficiency. There is no weed growth, so you reduce the cost of weeding, that is weed removal, and then the product will be much higher because you are supplying the water without any deficient, and maximum utilization of the efficient utilization of the water. The one disadvantage is the high initial cost, but nowadays governments are giving a lot of subsidy for the farmers to implement this. So this is what the type of crop, but how much water we need to supply, I think this we have seen a lot during our abstract period, that is called crop water requirement or evapotranspiration, right? There are two evapotranspiration. First one is reference crop evapotranspiration, which we estimate as a function of meteorological tables, right? That is ET naught. Then multiply it with the crop coefficient. Crop coefficient, which is function of type of crop and stage of the crop. Stage means the level at which it has grown. ET naught is nothing but the reference crop, well watered. The reference crop is as usually alfalfa, a grass. Crop coefficient varies from crop to crop, which we estimate using lysimeters, right? So once I know the crop coefficient, for every day I can multiply that with the reference crop evapotranspiration estimated using meteorological parameters. Then I will get the crop evapotranspiration, which is called as consumptive use. This crop evapotranspiration minus effective rainfall, that will give you the net irrigation requirement. Then net irrigation requirement with application efficiency, we called it as field irrigation requirement. Then this field irrigation requirement with conveyance loss is the water to be released from the dam, and that is called as gross irrigation requirement. So we have water at root zone, that is nothing but crop water requirement, minus effective rainfall is the net irrigation requirement at the field level, then including your conveyance loss, that is gross irrigation requirement. So this is some of the days, I think this is repeating, crop duration and growth stages. Every crop, even though we say rice or wheat, right, is 120 to 150 days. It has different stages. First is at nursery, then development stages, mid-season, and then maturing season. The crop coefficient varies from one stage to another stage, right? This is just to give you an example, right? Like for wheat, rice, right? 15 days, 25 days. In rice, 15 days is in nursery, 15 to then 25 days in vegetative growth, then mid-season, and then late season, that is maturing stage. This is the crop coefficient applicable throughout the world. So this is about crop water requirement. Now we will see what is irrigation scheduling, right? I told that the net irrigation requirement, then field irrigation requirement, and the gross irrigation requirement. That is, once I supply the water for irrigation, then what is the next time step or time interval I need to supply? That depends upon my application method, at what type of crop I am growing, and what variety of crop I am growing at what location. So this governs the frequency of irrigation, and that frequency of irrigation is called as irrigation scheduling. Now we will see one by one. Irrigation timing or irrigation frequency is nothing but the irrigation frequency depends upon nothing but the time interval in which I need to water the plants. So irrigation frequency and irrigation interval closely related. right? Irrigation frequency is number of irrigations required for a crop. Higher frequency of irrigation, that means the interval between one irrigation to another irrigation is very large, very small, then my frequency is larger. Higher frequency of irrigation, surface soil remains moist for longer periods. So that leads to higher evapotranspiration loss. Irrigation frequency is low as possible to avoid water wastages. So therefore irrigation frequency is nothing but available moisture in the extraction depth of a crop divided by peak period consumptive use. Right? Let us see what is this. Right? If I do this a crop root zone, right? If I take a crop, this is how the crop takes the water. If this is from the ground soil, 40% of the water is taken just to 25 mm. Right? This is 1 meter depth in centimeters. So the first 25 centimeter only 40% of the water is taken. Then 30%, because as the depth of root goes higher and higher, the root levels taken by water will be less. So I need to irrigate this much for a crop. This is how the crop takes the water. Then my frequency is affected by the climate. So during monsoon period, my frequency is very less because I don't do it frequently because of effective rainfall. Whereas in summer season, my frequency is higher. So I have to irrigate frequently. Then the soil characteristics. If the soil is having less permeability, that means the water retained in the soil for longer period, then my frequency is large. Otherwise, I have to do that frequently. Then the crop characteristics. So the crops having higher consumptive rate consume soil water quickly than the crops which requires less water. Crops like vegetables, onion, tobacco, sugar, beet requires irrigation than crops like wheat, bajra, mustard, maize. Same in irrigated dry crop itself, some crops which take more water, some crops, that is type of the crop. Then the crop that depends upon the crop coefficient. This is the root characteristics of the crop, right? As the shallow roots. Then the crop and water management practices. Right? As I said, water management practices is nothing but type of irrigation or method of irrigation. Also governs my irrigation frequency. Right? So let us see some of the terminologies. Irrigation depth is nothing but delta, the net depth of water normally needed to be applied to the crops during each irrigation. In practice, it is approximately equal to readily available moisture, right? So irrigation depth of irrigation is when I go on adding the total depth of irrigation is the delta. Then how much delta I irrigate at each irrigation is called as readily available moisture. Irrigation interval is the time gap expressed in days between subsequent irrigations, right? Irrigation period, it is usually expressed in days that can be allowed by applying one irrigation to a given design crop during peak consumptive use, and it is function of peak period consumptive use rate. So irrigation, this is considered in the design of irrigation system and capacity and equipment. So irrigation period, number of days is equal to number of depth of soil depletion by the crop by peak period consumptive use. So this is what we call it as irrigation interval and irrigation period. The irrigation scheduling, in irrigation scheduling, the irrigation period should be less than the irrigation interval. This is because if the period is not smaller, that means before the latter parts of the area are to be irrigated, the earlier irrigated area will need fresh irrigation. That means we need to keep the moisture, right? Not at zero level. There are three different limits of crop. One is called as field crop, field saturation capacity. That means the soil is completely filled with, or the soil pores are completely filled with water. That is the field capacity. As the plant extracts water, the moisture content goes on decreasing, right? Plants goes on decreasing. After certain moisture content, the plants cannot extract water from the soil. that is called as wilting point. That is called as temporary wilting point. Even though there is moisture in the soil, plant cannot extract. That is temporary wilting point. Then we need to irrigate before that temporary wilting point. If you don't irrigate that, the moisture content still goes down and the plants cannot extract water even though you irrigate it again. That level is called as permanent wilting point. That means the plants are dying. So when plants have died, even though you irrigate again to the soil, it will not take water. You need to irrigate before the permanent wilting, temporary wilting point of a crop. How much is the depth we have to do? That is called as management allowed deficiency. Normally, if we have good source and good type of crop, it is 50 to 60%. That means when the soil moisture is decreasing and it has reached 60% of the temporary wilting point, then you irrigate. Then you make the soil to the saturated level. So it is like a sawtooth. In one irrigation, it becomes field capacity, then goes on reducing, and then after temporary MAD allowed deficiency, go on irrigating. That is called irrigation frequency. Right? So just for an understanding, I have given a small problem. The moisture content at field capacity of a clay loamy soil is 28% by weight, while that at permanent wilting point is 14% by weight. So root zone depth is 1 meter, bulk density of the soil is 1.2 gram per centimeter. Calculate the net and grass depth if irrigation efficiency is 0.7. What is the field capacity is 28%, permanent wilting point is 14%. Here I am allowing up to a permanent wilting point. Normally we will never do this in practice. Before permanent wilting point, there is a temporary wilting point, and before that is the management allowed deficiency. That means this percentage will be very, very less. But for calculation purpose, I was doing. So available soil moisture field capacity is 28%. Now permanent wilting point is 14%. So 14% is the what available moisture in the field. Right? What is the bulk density? It's 1.2 gram per centimeter cube. Root zone depth is 1 meter. Now equivalent depth of water, right? This is in percentage. In equivalent to depth is nothing but available moisture content into specific weight of the soil and root zone depth. Here 14%, 0.14, and specific weight. Specific weight is my specific gravity of water, specific gravity. 1.2 is specific gravity because bulk density is 1.2 divided by 1 gram per cc of water. So into root zone depth is 1 meter. So 168 mm is the equivalent depth of water available in the soil. Allow 50% as the management allowed deficiency. That means you need to irrigate when the soil moisture is at 84 mm. That means how much you need to again irrigate? Again you have to irrigate another 84 mm. So to bring it back to the field capacity. In how many days? So that is what we call it as gross irrigation requirement. The net irrigation efficiency is 84 mm divided by 0.7. So 120 mm. So the area, the volume of water I need to irrigate is 120 meter cube per hectare. If the peak evapotranspiration, is another question. If the peak evapotranspiration is 7.5 mm per day, the shortest irrigation interval is readily available moisture is 84 mm. That much I need to irrigate. Within, that is total. Within how many days? If the peak requirement is 7.5, so every 11 days I need to irrigate to achieve this 84 mm depth of water for this crop period. Okay, so this is example. Then comes how to improve the irrigation efficiency. We have seen different types of method of irrigation, and then how to supply the quantity of water through irrigation scheduling. Then how to estimate whether the supplied water is efficiently used or not. That is called as irrigation efficiency. So irrigation efficiency is the ratio, it's not ration, it's a ratio of the water output to the water input, and it is usually expressed as percentage, because water is lost in irrigation during various processes, and therefore the crop may not take the quantity of water which we have taken totally. There are certain amount of losses like conveyance loss, application loss, water storage loss, and water use loss. You need to estimate separately each and every efficiency, right? So efficiency of water conveyance, that is water loss during conveyance in the canal. It is the ratio of water delivered to the field from the outlet point of the channel to the water pumped into the channel. If it is a reservoir, what is the water released from the reservoir gate and how much water has reached the canal or field inlet, right? It is represented by conveyance loss. Water delivered divided by water diverted into the water delivered to the farm divided by water diverted from the reservoir. For example, suppose 45 meter cube of water was pumped into a farm distribution system, but if only 38 meter cube of water is delivered at a head ditch of the farm, which is 2 kilometers away, what is the conveyance loss? So what is the volume of water reached my farm? It is 38 meter cube, but how much is lifted from the farm, from the source? It is 45. So 84% is the conveyance efficiency. It is not loss, it is the efficiency. Loss is 7 meter cube. So the loss is 7 by 45, which is 16%. So 84% is the efficiency and 16% is the loss, right? Then water application efficiency. It depends upon the method of irrigation. It is the ratio of quantity of water stored in the root zone of the crop and actually diverted into the field, right? So how much water is coming to my field and how much I have stored it in the root zone of the crop. If my method of application is different, then different depth of water is stored, and that is why people say that it is function of the runoff and percolation. That means if I do it in flooding method, there will be more amount of runoff and more percolation, whereas in sprinkler irrigation there is very less surface runoff and very less percolation, because I don't supply more than the rainfall intensity and soil characteristics. In drip irrigation, there is absolutely no runoff and absolutely no percolation, very small quantity, because water is supplied at the root zone, right? In a well-defined surface irrigation system, the application efficiency, that is in furrow method, it is around 60%, whereas in sprinkler irrigation system, it is around 80 to 90%, and in drip irrigation method, it is 95%. So then the application efficiency is nothing but volume of water supplied at the root zone depth to the volume of water supplied at the field level, right? For example, a delivery of 10 meter cube per second to a 32 hectare farm is contained for 4 hours, right? The tail water is 0.27 meter cube per second. Soil probing after irrigation scheduling, that 30 centimeter of water has been stored in the root zone. Compute the application efficiency. So what first we have to do? First we have to estimate how much is the water delivered. How much is the water delivered? It is 10 meter cube per second for 4 hours, multiplied with 4 into 3600 converting unit. So the volume of water supplied is 1,44,000 meter cube. And how much is stored in the root zone? It says that by soil probing, soil tensiometer, it says that 30 centimeter of water has been stored in the root zone. Then water stored in the root zone is 0.3 meter. How much area? It is 32 hectares, which is 10,000 meter square. So 0.3 into 32 into 10,000, 96,000. So you supplied 1,44,000 meter cube, but water stored is only 96,000 meter cube. Then what is the application efficiency? It is 96,000 meter cube divided by 1,44,000 meter cube. That is water stored in the root zone divided by water delivered to the farm. So the application efficiency in this case is 66.7%. Now what is the total efficiency? It is multiplication of my conveyance efficiency and application efficiency, right? That is called as water use efficiency. There is one more efficiency, that is called as water storage efficiency. That means it is the ratio of water stored in the root zone during irrigation to the water needed in the root zone prior to irrigation. That's a part and parcel of my exact method of irrigation at the root zone. It is represented by sigma s, eta s. That means the total water use is the multiplication of all the efficiencies. I have given a problem where you can compute different types of efficiencies, right? It's a large scale irrigation district and its source, the storage reservoir is 60 kilometer, right? He wants to irrigate 65 hectares, that is the area of the land. The crop water requirement is estimated as 50 mm. Due to expected uniformity application, he has to apply 55 mm, then only he will reach 50 mm at the root zone. The spray and wind drift losses is 8%, so this also we should include it in the depth of water. Distribution system losses is 15%, and storage reservoir and entrance to the district conveyance losses is 45%. Compute the applicable water efficiencies and volume of water which must be released from the storage reservoir to meet farmers' crop water requirement. So first we have to estimate what is the volume of water required at root zone. So 50 mm is required at the root zone for an area of 65 hectares. With unit conversion, the volume of water required at the root zone is 32,500 meter cube. Application efficiency. He wants 50 mm at the root, but he has to apply 55 mm to take care of deep percolation losses. So how much he has to apply? He has to apply 35,750 meter cube. But he has a drift and spray loss from his sprinkler irrigation. So then that means loss volume of water, if he has 8% loss, how much is the water he has to spray from the sprinkler? Then that is volume of water at the application surface divided by the volume of water sprayed, that is by efficiency. So 35,750 divided by 1 minus 0.08, that much, that means 38,859 he has to spray it from his device. Then what is the distribution system? Distribution system, he has said that there is 15% loss in the distribution system, that is in the pipes, pumping, all these things. Then the distribution system, at the starting of the distribution system, is volume of water required is 45,716. How you got this? This is how much water comes from the sprinkler spray to how much water you have supplied at the starting of the pipe. It's 15% losses, so 38,859 divided by 0.85. Then 45,716 meter cube is the volume it has to be pumped from the starting of the pipe. But how much is the loss in the conveyance? 45,716 is needed at the distribution system with 45% of seepage and evaporation conveyance losses. Volume of water extracted from the reservoir is 83,120 meter cube. Then you can estimate the efficiency of extraction, right? That means conveyance loss, right? And then application losses, distribution losses, overall irrigation system. So overall he supplied 32,500 at the root zone but extracted 83,000. That means his irrigation system efficiency is only 39%. So this is how we estimate efficiency at different locations. This is another small problem. 1 meter cube per second of water put into the farm distribution system. 0.8 meter cube per second is delivered to a turnout 0.9 kilometer from the well. Compute the conveyance efficiency. Input minus output. Input is 0.8 cubic meter cube per second was received by me. But how much you have pumped? You have pumped 1 meter cube per second. So efficiency is 80%. Simple questions, right? These are all some of the definitions which you will come across when you are working in irrigation engineering department. gross command area, it is the total area bounded within the irrigation boundary of a project, which can be economically irrigated without considering the limitation of quantity of water. That means we can say that they are all designated area for irrigation. Cultivable command area is part of gross command area where cultivation is possible. So the maximum cultivable command area is equal to gross command area, because in a particular year, the depending upon the volume of water available in the reservoir, and then farmers availability, machineries availability, right? Certain amount of area only is cultivable, and that area is called as cultivable command area. All of this cultivable command area may not be sown or cultivated at a time. Pastures, fallow lands which can be made cultivable are included. Uncultivable populated areas including ponds, reservoirs are all excluded from this cultivable command area, but they are all included in gross command area. Intensity of irrigation, right? Due to some reasons, only certain percentage of cultivable land is brought under irrigation, 30 to 40% will be the irrigated every season. Sometimes there are certain large reservoir where the irrigation intensity is 100%. That means all the cultivable command area is irrigated. If it irrigates in 2 seasons, then the percentage of irrigation intensity is 200%. Right? Annual irrigation intensity, it is sum of 2-3 seasons. Area to be irrigated, the area proposed to be irrigated at any one time, obtained by multiplying cross command area by intensity of irrigation. That is the area to be irrigated. Net and gross area, sometimes two crops are grown during a particular year in certain area. Such an area will be sown more than once. Right? So gross sown area is equal to net sown area plus area sown more than once. These are all some of the definitions you will come across when you work in irrigation engineering. Net and gross irrigated area. Gross irrigated area is net irrigated area in a season plus area irrigated more than once during a year. Time factor, the ratio of number of days the canals has actually to run to the base period in days. So even though entire command area is under irrigation, I don't need to irrigate every day. But the canals has to be operated continuously because your command area is larger. That is called time factor, during which the canal is. Then capacity factor, it is the ratio of mean supplied discharge to the full capacity of the discharge. During starting of the season, we may not supply water to the full canal carrying capacity, which is estimated based on the full duty of the crop. But the depth of or the discharge is gradually increased after vegetative period, maturity period, then it is gradually reduced. So that is called as capacity factor. Right? It will vary from 10%, 20%, 30%, then 100%, then it reduces to again 10% and then stop. The full supply coefficient, it is area estimated to be irrigated during base period to the designed full discharge during the peak. It's nothing but how much efficiently you have used your water. Nominal duty is the ratio of the area to be irrigated to the mean supply discharge during the base period. This is slightly different from our duty, because I said a duty can be estimated for each and every crop, but in a command area there will be a different types of crops. Then which one I have to consider? That is called as nominal duty. It is the ratio of area to be irrigated, right, to the mean supply of the discharge during the base period.